What's going on, everybody? Today I want to talk about property taxes in Mexico and really kind of get into the details and how these are going to be way cheaper than what you're going to encounter in the United States, especially right now. I think it's kind of catching on like wildfire. Property taxes are starting to raise. You know, you saw it in Nashville, Texas, they're really high. You go to freaking Illinois, in some areas it's 3%. So these really eat into the carrying cost, the holding costs, when you have an investment property, right? Or a property that you're owning. It becomes a big expense, and we're gonna see how that is a lot different here in Los Cabos than it would be in the United States. So first of all, the property tax here is called the pre-dial, okay? It's gonna be paid in Mexican pesos, and it's gonna be 0.1% of your property's value. So if you have a property that is valued at $300,000, you'll be paying approximately $300 a year in property taxes. Here's another thing too. If you pay your property taxes in January, you get 20% off. February, 15% off. March, 10% off. So not only is it cheaper, but you're incentivized. If you pay it off in the beginning of the year in January, you're gonna get even bigger discount. So you have, when you look at that compared to, I'm looking at this right now, the average property tax in the United States for 2020 was $3,719. $3,719 versus maybe $300 in Los Cabos. That's kind of a ridiculous, differential right there. So your property taxes are going to be much lower here. Another thing, I was recently, taxes in Mexico are a little bit different than the United States. I was reading an article about collecting property taxes in Puerto Vallarta, and this was back in like 2016. And now here in Cabo, you can go online and pay your property taxes, no issue. They encourage that, right? It's easier to track who's paid and not. But in Puerto Vallarta in 2016, they only collected 70% of the property taxes. So you have a lot of people that are delinquent on this. The Mexican government is getting a lot better at cracking down on this, and obviously you do not want to be, especially when it's this cheap, delinquent on paying property taxes. But it is a bigger issue here than in the United States. You're definitely not going to get away with not paying your taxes, but just to kind of give you insight as to what's going on here in Mexico. Now, when you get into closing costs in Mexico, which I have another video on, they're going to be a little bit higher than you'll have in the United States. But here's the thing though, when you have lower carrying costs, they say maybe year 4, year 5, you're going to recoup those higher carrying costs, and then it's just going to be lower and lower and lower, right? So basically, if you're buying a property here and you're going to hold it for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, the property taxes that you will be paying on that are going to become so negligent compared to what you're paying in the United States. And like I've been saying, I really do think you're going to start seeing property taxes kind of creep up higher and higher in the United States as municipalities need to fund infrastructure, basic services, things like that. Now, one of the downsides to having such a low property tax is, for example, let's say you're in Manhattan and you're holding on to a property, and it's not really doing it for you. You have the incentive to sell because you're paying like these property taxes. When you have, let's say, dilapidated or abandoned building or a lot here in Los Cabos, you're not under pressure to get rid of that right away. So you still have these families that own this land that they're just sitting on as it continues to grow in value, and they don't really have any incentive to do anything with it because they know it's going to appreciate in value. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just you see a lot of people sitting on property that could be, sold. It could be renovated for higher value. you know, or it could be developed on and they're just in no rush because at the end of the day, they're really not spending any money on it. There's no carrying cost, there's no penalty to not developing on that. So, all in all, property taxes are going to be way less in Mexico than you're paying in the United States. And for a lot of reasons, I don't really see this increasing. In areas like Cabo, I might admit that I'd be willing to pay more property taxes for them to keep up with infrastructure, because the population growth here is so explosive that we really need to, you know, do roads, water, things like this. So I would be open to them using dollars like that. But do I see the property taxes here in Mexico increasing? You know, if they do, very negligible amounts, you know, not like the United States here where, you know, the average property tax might be 1%. We're talking point decimal, right? 0.1%. Once again, you know, if that's a $300,000 property, that's $300 a year. If you pay that up front online in January, you can get that down about $250, you know, so we're talking very negligible amounts. But that's a quick rundown on property taxes in Los Cabos. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Love to educate you guys on anything further. So please let me know if you enjoyed this video and if you want me to cover anything else. Thank you for your time.